The crisp autumn air, swirling fallen leaves around Mark and Sarah, initially painted a picture of idyllic romance. He, a quiet, studious engineering student, found himself utterly captivated by Sarah's vibrant energy and quick wit. She was a whirlwind of activity, involved in student government, debate club, and a myriad of other pursuits. Their first meeting, a chance encounter in the university library, sparked an immediate connection. He was drawn to her intelligence and passion, she to his calm demeanor and unwavering support. Their courtship was a blend of shared dreams, of a future family, a cozy home, and a life filled with love and adventure. Their wedding, a small ceremony in a quaint chapel, felt like the culmination of a fairy tale. But even then, beneath the surface of their happiness, subtle tensions simmered. Sarah's restless spirit, her constant need for excitement, sometimes clashed with Mark's more grounded nature. He dismissed it as youthful exuberance, a temporary phase that would pass. He failed to recognize the deep-seated dissatisfaction bubbling beneath her effervescent exterior. Their love, it turned out, was built on shifting sands. The initial bliss of their marriage was short-lived. While Mark poured his energy into his burgeoning career, Sarah seemed increasingly restless. Late nights out, unexplained absences, and a growing distance between them became the new normal. He initially attributed it to stress, the pressures of adapting to married life, and the challenges of balancing work and personal commitments. But the subtle signs intensified. The once vibrant laughter faded, replaced by a quiet discontent. Her eyes, once sparkling with affection, now held a distant, almost melancholic gaze. He noticed her increasingly frequent late-night phone calls, hushed conversations, and the sudden disappearance of her phone when he tried to speak to her. He chose to ignore the red flags, clinging to the hope that their initial spark would rekindle. He was consumed by his work, convinced that a promotion would resolve the issues, neglecting the fundamental problem. Their communication was fractured. He tried to ignore the evidence, burying his head in the sand, unable or unwilling to confront the truth until it was too late. It wasn't a dramatic disappearance, but rather a slow fade, a silent retreat. Sarah announced a weekend trip with friends, a casual mention that didn't raise Mark's alarm. The weekend extended into a week, the week into a month. His calls went unanswered, his texts met with silence. The initial concern morphed into a chilling dread. The police investigation was frustratingly fruitless. There were no witnesses, no clear leads, only unanswered questions that haunted his every waking moment. He was left alone, reeling from the shock, struggling to make sense of the sudden emptiness in his life. The life they had carefully built together crumbled into dust, leaving him adrift in a sea of uncertainty and grief. The joy of the wedding felt like a distant memory, replaced by the cold reality of his loss. The decade that followed was a relentless assault on his spirit. The silence was deafening, the absence overwhelming. He wrestled with grief, loneliness, and the crushing weight of unanswered questions. He had to come to terms with not only the loss of Sarah, but also the devastating realization that the life they had shared was a carefully constructed illusion, a false facade covering a hidden truth. He immersed himself in his work, finding solace in the structure and predictability of his routine. But even the successes he achieved felt hollow, tainted by the constant reminder of the void in his life. He fought for closure. The divorce was brutal and agonizing. The memories of Sarah became a double-edged sword, a source of both pain and comfort, a reminder of both joy and betrayal. The absence of Sarah not only altered his life, but utterly destroyed the future he had envisioned. The knock on the door was unexpected, a sharp disruption in the rhythm of his solitary existence. Standing on his doorstep was a young woman, her striking resemblance to Sarah immediately apparent. Lily, she introduced herself, his daughter. The revelation wasn't only surprising, but also emotionally charged. It wasn't just the realization of having a child he never knew existed. It was the sudden, overwhelming presence of Sarah, albeit indirectly through their daughter. Lily spoke of a mother consumed by regret, a mother who had found herself trapped in a web of lies and mistakes, a mother desperately seeking forgiveness and redemption. The news shook him profoundly. The decade of silence was abruptly shattered. The past, with all its pain and unanswered questions, threatened to engulf him once again. But along with the wave of painful memories came a glimmer of hope, an unexpected opportunity for reconciliation, or perhaps closure. This expanded version provides a more detailed and emotionally resonant account of the first 5 outlines. Each chapter builds upon the previous one, creating a more compelling narrative. You can further develop these sections by adding specific details, vivid descriptions, and internal monologues to further enhance the emotional impact of the story. The weight of Lily's words settled heavily on Mark. The neatly constructed walls of his grief and anger, built brick by brick over a decade, began to crumble. He stared at the rain streaking down the windowpane, each drop a mirror reflecting the turmoil within. His initial reaction was a surge of raw, unadulterated anger. A decade stolen, a life shattered, a future denied. But then, a different emotion surfaced, a faint flicker of empathy, a recognition of the pain and regret etched on Lily's face. He saw in her not only the physical resemblance to Sarah, but also a similar vulnerability, a quiet strength forged in the crucible of hardship. He was at a crossroads: vengeance, the path of anger and resentment, or forgiveness, a path of healing, however difficult. The decision wasn't simply about Sarah, it was about Lily, his daughter, a child caught in the crossfire of her parents' broken relationship. The weight of that responsibility pressed down on him, urging him toward a decision that would shape not only his life, but also hers. He was no longer just Mark, the grieving husband. He was Mark, the father, finally confronting the complex reality of his family. The meeting with Sarah wasn't a dramatic confrontation, but a quiet, emotionally charged exchange. 10 years had etched lines on her face, a testament to the hardships she had endured. She was older, wearier, but her eyes still held a spark of the vibrant woman he had once loved. There were no accusations, no recriminations, just a raw, unfiltered confession. She didn't offer excuses, only a heart-wrenching account of her mistakes, a youthful indiscretion that escalated, a desperate attempt to escape the confines of a life that had become suffocating. Her lover, she admitted, had been a fleeting illusion, a false promise that had ultimately left her more alone than ever. The silence of the past decade, she explained, was not an act of malice, but a desperate attempt to protect him and Lily from the fallout of her actions. Mark listened, his heart a battleground of conflicting emotions. The anger was still present, but it was tempered by a growing understanding of the pain and regret that fueled Sarah's actions. Through a series of flashbacks interspersed with their present conversation, the full picture emerged. Sarah's affair hadn't been a simple betrayal, but a symptom of deeper issues within their marriage: a lack of communication, unspoken resentments, and unfulfilled desires. Her lover wasn't a villain, but a catalyst, exposing the cracks in their foundation. The disappearance wasn't a calculated move, but a desperate act of self-preservation, fueled by fear and a misguided attempt to shield Lily from the consequences. The years of silence were not a deliberate act of cruelty, but a result of her own guilt and the overwhelming fear of facing him. The truth wasn't simple or easy. It was a complex tapestry woven from youthful mistakes, fear, regret, and a desperate yearning for redemption. It was a painful revelation, but it was the truth, and understanding it was the first step towards healing. Mark's decision wasn't a sudden epiphany, but a gradual shift in perspective, a slow unfurling of his heart. He wouldn't condone Sarah's actions, but he could understand the desperation that drove them. Forgiveness wasn't a simple act of letting go, but a conscious choice to heal, not only for himself, but for Lily. He wouldn't erase the past, but he would learn from it. He offered not a complete restoration of their relationship, but a tentative step toward reconciliation, a commitment to building a new foundation based on honesty, understanding, and shared responsibility. It was a difficult choice, a path fraught with uncertainty, but one he was willing to take for the sake of his daughter, and perhaps for his own peace of mind. The path forward wouldn't be easy, but it was a path of hope. Years later, their family wasn't the idyllic picture he had once envisioned. The scars remained, visible reminders of the pain and betrayal. But there was a quiet strength in their bond, a resilience forged in the fires of hardship. They weren't the same people they had been 10 years prior. They were changed, scarred, but wiser. Their family wasn't restored to its former glory, but it had been reforged, built on a new foundation of understanding, forgiveness, and a shared commitment to Lily's well-being. The past was an integral part of their story, but it no longer defined them. They had found a way to coexist, to heal, and to create a future where love, however imperfect, could prevail. Lily, their daughter, was the living testament to their resilience, a beacon of hope illuminating their path forward. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so and press the notification bell. This way, you'll stay updated with more shocking real-life stories.